Hey everybody, it's Amber, and this is the first video in my daily journal series. I have been working on putting together YouTube videos for a little while now, tinkering with different ideas, and I do a lot of different creative things. So I think part of what I struggle with is, should I be more art focused? Should I be more junk journal focused? The big pieces, small pieces. And I really kind of flirted with a bunch of different ideas and then realized that when it comes down to it, pretty much everything I do goes in a journal or is making some sort of journal. I do separate art pieces that are a little bit more like capital A art. I don't really love filming those. I like filming the play. And so I landed here. So ultimately, daily journal is just a way for me to make videos much more regularly. They won't all be filmed on the day they're released necessarily, but the goal is to put out a video a day, length TBD, and just show you how I work with journals in all their forms. And do a lot of those different practices with you. So sometimes it's going to be making a journal. I do a lot of handmade journals these days. This one's fun to use. And I find that I really enjoy being able to use all different kinds of papers. And I give myself a lot of extra permission when it comes down to it in the journal to just experiment and explore and not feel too precious about the kind of work that I'm doing. Like I totally closed this at some point while it was wet, so we've got markings on this page, which frankly I find much more exciting than a blank page, so that was a great thing. I do them when I'm doing sessions with other artists that I'm watching as art lessons or YouTube videos. Rather than feeling like I need to pull out my good paper or anything too precious, I'll just grab a piece of what I lovingly call art trash, or a handmade journal or a scrap of paper somewhere and work on that. And so we'll do an awful lot of walking through making journals, and especially I think prepping journals, collaging pages to use as a base for something, which is kind of what happened here. This is an exercise I did with somebody that wasn't really in my wheelhouse, and I produced something that was fun to make, but I didn't really like the end result, so I covered over it with some colored mulberry paper, and now I'm obsessed. So we'll do a lot of that kind of stuff. Sometimes I might even be doing an art lesson or a YouTube video, and I'll film myself while I'm doing it in one of my journals, and then you can kind of go potentially do that same art lesson. So we'll do some of that stuff. And I apologize for the noise. My cat, Sasquatch, the one that you see in the cartoon at the front of the videos, is going wild. She is my art cat. I did some sort of study with somebody on separate pieces of paper and put them together in this book. I love it. I want to do more with it. I will admit this is one of the few cases where I do feel precious about something because I already really like where it is, and so I have to think about what I want to do with it next. A lot of my journals, though, are things like this. I love vintage. I love finding cool stuff and repurposing, and I found this awesome mid-century decorating book, and I saved the pages. I did this one backwards or upside down somehow, but I used this as a substrate to work on. I ended up collaging on it, making this lovely lady. Now the cat is playing with a Tweety Bird toy. She's really feeling herself. And I love journals like this where I can just work on individual pieces of paper and then pop them into the journal later. These are actually pieces of junk mail that I collaged on and that I did some gesso on and other stuff. And now they're ready to be art journal pages instead of junk mail. So sometimes all I'll do is just pick up some paper and or a journal and just do a bunch of prep for that day if I don't really have anything else in me. So I think we'll probably do a lot of journal page prep together as well, especially because I don't work on stuff very linearly. I have a tendency to get an idea for some stuff that I want to do and work on it for a little while, maybe on multiple pieces, but not carry them through to a finished product right away. Oh my gosh, Sassy, you are really feeling it. You're a crazy lady. You're a crazy lady. Yes, you are. This is just one of those manila folders with the page tab thingies. I love these. I originally got them to use for some junk journal making and then decided that it would really be fun to use as an art journal. Again, repurposing like junk mail. This is a seed catalog. It's really fun to work on because it's got all of those floral images. This is some paper that I had in an old biology book that I love, and I ended up accidentally doing some day collage on it where you collage and then pull stuff off. So a lot of work going on in there. I ended up painting on this cover literally yesterday just because it was in front of me and I felt like it. Sometimes I will, journal down. Sometimes I will work on making journals. I am making a small series of no blank pages journals to put up in my Etsy shop. There's still some blank pages. They won't be there forever. But it'll be mixed media, fine art paper, magazine paper. This is old rag book paper. It's gorgeous. It's so fun to paint on. These are literally images from an art, a modern art book from like the 1970s, I think. So just stuff to kind of get you started while you work. And I'm going to be working on more prep for those because they really inspire me when I'm working in journals like that. And today, we're just going to do something really fast because obviously it's the intro day. I've been chatting a little bit. This is an envelope journal that I made, I think this week, in a session. Yeah, I did the Art Oasis session with, or event with Jessica Swift. And I think the very first lesson or session was with Karen Abend. And she walked through how to create an envelope booklet like this, which is really cool because then you have all of these little pockets or tuck spots that you can put things in. And I really like that. I had some packing paper from when I order Chewy boxes of like food and toys for my pets. They include this brown paper that has this kind of seam down the middle, which I think is fun to use as pages, and it fit perfectly in the envelopes. So I grabbed those out and I've been slowly prepping pages, putting some light gesso applications, doing collage. This one we've got some stenciling and stamping on top of the collage, a little bit of watercolor I think that I sealed. And I started yesterday to try and actually work directly on the envelope itself. But when I do mixed media work, or really anything, I use a lot of wet media. I do occasionally do just dry media like drawings, but very rarely. I really like to paint. I really like to smudge and smear and spray and speckle, and the envelopes themselves don't take that very well right now. So if I'm going to do more stuff with these books and actually use them the way that I work, I am going to need to get these surfaces so that they're a little bit sturdier and can stand up more to the kind of other stuff that I do. So what I've got here, I've got some tissue paper. Some of it is like purchased tissue paper. A lot of it is painted papers that I have made. Some of it's like rice paper or mulberry paper, but it's all stuff that has some degree of transparency or translucency, as tissue often does. I really like to collage with stuff like this. And I am just going to collage my envelope surface. And yes, if you have been to craft stores and seen those plastic cases with like photo boxes in them, often they're clear, but I have one that's multicolored. It's like rainbow colored. I'm using those right now to store and organize my tissue by color family. And I did pink earlier, so I'm gonna do purple, I think, here. Should I do purple there? I'm kind of thinking we can go rainbow through all of the envelope surfaces. So I'm going to take that out. I don't want to mess it up. I've got some loose deli paper here that I've been sort of using and reusing until I get to the point where it's too bunched up and stuff, and then I'll toss it. But I use that to protect surfaces when I am doing a lot of collage. And I think I'm just going to grab what feels good. I'm going to take some of this gift tissue that I've got here, rip it up, and we can get the bigger piece now out of the way. I'll put it back where it came from. I use matte or gloss medium, either fluid or gel, as my glue, like 99% of the time in art journal work. So when I work in more of like a junk journal creation, I do use other glues for that. But particularly for collage or gluing things down in an art capacity, it's usually matte fluid or matte gel medium. I have started using gloss medium a little bit more often, just for the ability to get additional transparency in papers that I'm using, because tissue does go much more transparent when you use the gloss. But I tend to prefer a matte finish, so I often use matte. So what we're gonna do, actually, this deli paper needs to go in the pocket so I don't glue the pocket shut. So let's get that in there. Hey, come on. You're acting like you're already glued shut. I don't think you are. I think you're just stiff. Okay, yeah, we're good. All right, so got deli paper under, deli paper in. I am using a paint shaper. I use these almost all the time now for collage or for gessoing surfaces, working with mediums that might be hard on my brushes. Even though, especially for acrylic work, I don't use a lot of like high-end brushes, they're still a pain to have to clean. And this just works super well for collage, as you will see. And then I know some people like to work directly from the jar or will pour out their medium. I tend to just plop it on whatever surface I am working on. Let me get this little skin out of here, out of my way. Come on, out of my way. Don't stick to my finger. Please don't stick to my finger. Thank you. All right. I'm almost done with this. This New York Central Art Supply I tried as a somewhat inexpensive medium. It gets the job done, but I don't particularly love that brand, so I wouldn't recommend it. Although I will say, if you look at what I'm doing today and you're like, I like the consistency of that, great. I thought it was going to be a very fluid medium, like the Liquitex matte medium that I often use, but it's the texture is somewhere between the Liquitex fluid medium and the Liquitex gel medium, and I just never really quite enjoyed it. It's like thicker than I want it to be when I want to be able to just pour it around, but still thinner than I want it to be if I'm working with a heavier paper that I need to collage down. So I probably would not get this one again, but if you're curious, that's what I'm using. And again, I find with art supplies, almost always it comes down to preference and what are you trying to do. And so if you're seeing this and you're thinking, that looks great to me, then awesome, you should get some of the New York Central Art Supply matte medium. You'll love it. But I am using it up so that I can move on to other media that I like using more. So I'm also spraying this with water from just a continuous spray bottle. It helps it lay down better with like fewer air bubbles. And if I was trying to get this to go fully transparent or as close as possible, the water helps with that also. One of my favorite people to follow on YouTube or in her community is Jackie Bernardi, and she has a great like video course, something that she did where she went through a whole process experimenting with getting transparent papers, like what kind of paper goes the most transparent when you collage it, and in what way, like what method do you need to use to get that level of transparency. She's amazing. I love her. I will link her stuff below, as well as the Art Oasis stuff that I used or followed when I made this envelope book. And yeah, so I learned a lot of that from her. I really can't take credit for it. I'm feeling this paper. Ooh, I think I made this with Cat Rains. I followed along with some videos she was doing for making collage papers, and this I think is one of the ones that I made with her. So let's get that on there, spray it down just a little bit, put the glue on top. I like to do the glue on top and on bottom, and that's for several reasons. One, I feel like I just get better collage application. It's much smoother and better when the medium is on both sides, and especially with thinner paper, it tends to help saturate the paper down more and get it to comply and go, as we've been just talking about, right, more translucent or more transparent. So it's a lot of I find that it makes things just a lot easier. So add this little guy maybe up here. So let's spray you down. And I need a little bit more medium. And again, I'm just going to plop it right on my surface. I do this all the time with medium and paint. If you are freaking out because you like a much more tidy situation, or you want to work from a palette or another surface, then you do that. I kept doing that for a while, and then I just stopped because it doesn't feel necessary to me. All right, you there, and squish you down with the medium, and then ooh, I painted some napkins at some point when I was making collage papers. I think this is like really watered down acrylic, and they're fun. They're not as transparent or translucent as tissue, obviously, but they're really interesting texturally. So I wasn't sure how to feel about them at first, but I really, really, really enjoy them. So let's get some of that in there. You'll see what I'm talking about. So, boop. And seems like my kitty cat has calmed down. We are still integrating her into the house with the rest of the cats. Miss Sassy Cat, who, by the way, does tend to like to join me while I'm filming videos. So she is featured in some of my past videos and will definitely be on camera in the future. Because her room is basically my art room, and she's one of those cats who's pretty affectionate, and when she wants attention, she demands it. So anyway, we're still getting her and the other cats to get along. We took her in as a stray, and we've been making some progress, but after the cats have been in her room and left, she tends to have some energy she needs to burn, and that's what she was doing when I started this video, is just getting her feelings out, because my other girl cat had been in here and they did not come to blows, but I think she thinks about it when the other cat's in here. All right, so we've got some of this napkin, so you can see, I think, let me bring that up closer to the camera. So you can see some of the texture differences between the tissue and the napkin. That's just really interesting. So I've got to get this little section over here, and then that's going to be it for this portion of the journal page prep. I will have to come back to it at some point, and probably that's probably when I'll do some additional like mark making and other stuff on the page. But this will at least get it so that when I'm ready to paint or draw or smear or whatever else I decide I want to do on here, I'll have a surface that can withstand that additional work. So I'm going to spray this and then fold it over on itself a little bit so that it doesn't go too far over the envelope opening. And glue that down. And then there's a little bit of like white space there. I'm just going to grab some of the original tissue. Oh, 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 come on. There we are. And once it's dry, it'll be very similar to this surface that I have here. I actually had done a little bit of stencil cleaning on this surface. I had been doing some stencil work with some like stencil cream, which is just like a more textured paint kind of. And I was wiping it off of the stencil with a baby wipe, and I started wiping it onto the surface, and essentially gave me its own pattern here, which was cool. But then when I tried to do more, like I put some watercolor over it or something, the paper was just, again, not happy with the wet media. And then I collaged some pink tissue over that. So that's all we have here, but this is now a really good surface to get in and start doing some play on. And ideally, this one will be much the same once it dries. It'll just be ready for any additional collage or mark making or painting or drawing that I throw at it. And so that is the first day of my daily journal, and I'll be back again tomorrow to do more journaling with you. Thanks.